And we are live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to the MBA Litmus channel. I'm hoping that you're all doing great. And in this very important session, we are going to compare IITs with new and baby IIMs. So, for example, once the top tier league is gone, so let's say if I take out the Blackie, the top IIMs, IIM Mumbai, etc., then what is left out inside the IIMs? You have, the newer IIMs, which includes your everything which is below, let's say, an IIM Shillong. So you have Udaipur, you have Trichy, you have Raipur, you have Jammu, you have Kashipur, Ranchi, and all of these colleges. And then another interesting alternative, which is there with a lot of students, are IITs. So you have the likes of IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Kharagpur, Madras, Roorkee, Jodhpur. So how do you actually compare these? Some people talk about ROI, some people talk about the IIM brand, which actually is the deciding factor. So how do we decide between the two? If you are having baby or new IIM calls, and if you have IIT calls also this year, then this video is going to be very relevant to you. Hello and welcome. This is your friend and guide Sudhanshu Cat 99.7 Cons 100. I'm Lucknow, and you are watching me on the MBA Litmus channel. Let's get started. Let me quickly share some deck that I have, and let me help you out with this very interesting topic. Some of us who are watching it for the first time, do subscribe to the channel for all the relevant updates that are going to keep coming in. So let's get started. Let's have a brief discussion over MBA from IITs versus having baby slash new IIMs, right? So this is the MBA decision guide between the two alternatives that we have. So let's try and understand. Okay. So if I talk about the new and baby IIMs, you will have these IIMs typically post 2007, focused primarily on management education and then also supported by IIM Act. And another important element is that many of these IIMs are also mentored by the top IIMs, as in the older IIMs, which includes your Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode, and Indore, right? Then you have the IITs. IITs over the last few years have really developed as a very interesting alternative for MBA also. And they've shown their mettle in terms of their placement, small batch sizes, and also a very sharp trajectory in the entire MBA space. They obviously have a long established and rich legacy in terms of technical education, in terms of the BTech that they have. And they are primarily obviously known for engineering and technology and less known for MBA, right? So that is one element that is a very important decision making factor between IITs and baby IIMs. Let's dig deeper. थोड़ा सा और चलते हैं इस डिसीजन के अंदर, थोड़ा और कंपेयर करते हैं, right? If I compare, let's say a few important metrics, let's start by infrastructure. Okay. IITs definitely have a very strong infrastructure because of the already existing establishments that they have for the tech domains, right? While the new and baby IIMs have been developing it over the past, let's say 10, 15, 20 years nearly, and they're still trying to catch up. So in terms of infrastructure, definitely IITs have a great advantage, whether it is the research facilities, whether it is the kind of establishment, the size of establishment, the kind and nature of fests, the volume of people that come in these fests is absolutely huge, right? So decades of investment in research. So research is again a very important factor which separates IITs and IIMs. So if you're somebody who's research oriented, you might be attracted towards IITs, right? If I talk about, let's say, IIMs versus IITs, there is one other element which is the dominance. So while the management is the core dominant area within the IIMs, IITs have the tech as a dominating factor. If I talk about the recruiters between IITs and IIMs, while the IIMs have a mixed set of recruiters, the recruiters at IITs definitely have a tech inclination. So you'll have a lot of tech-based firms that are going to IITs, while a lot of consulting, finance, and other management domains is what you will find inside baby IIMs, right? So these are some of the core differentiating factors between IITs and IIMs. If you have anything else that comes to your mind, do let me know in the comments, and I'd surely share my response to that as well. Let me also dig a little bit deeper to effectively compare it. Okay, so how do you compare it? On three metrics. So let's say program fees, batch size, and placement competition. So these are three very important elements. If I talk about fees, right? IITs definitely have lower fees. So you would typically have, fees ranging from 3.5 lakhs to 16, 17, 18, right? So IIT Bombay is around 17, 18 mark. And then you have some of the lower IITs, which are also slightly lower in terms of the fee, right? So that is, the range. So you have between, let's say, 5 lakhs to 18 lakhs is the range for IITs. While even your, IIMs, which are baby IIMs and new IIMs, you will have fees ranging between 17, 18 to 22, 23, 25. So while IITs range between 5 to 18 lakhs, the baby IIMs will range from, let's say, 15 to 25 lakhs. So definitely higher in terms of program fees. That's number one. Number two, if I talk about batch size, you typically have two-digit or small three-digit numbers as far as the batch is concerned. And therefore, IITs are typically the fastest in placing their batch. You hardly have anybody unplaced inside IITs, right? While you compare that with baby IIM, you'll have larger batch. You'll have approximately an average of 250 to 300 is the batch size, which obviously gives you some advantages like broader peer network, and also gives you a disadvantage wherein you'll have approximately 15 to 20% of the batch remaining unplaced towards the end. I'm sure you have seen multiple cases of scenarios where people have been asked to opt out in case of baby IIMs towards the end of the season, right? So that is something which you typically see at baby IIMs, but you don't see that at IITs. If I talk about placement, competition, there is very little competition for roles within IITs. While your average salary ranges from 13 to 29 LPA, so your IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay are typically around that, 20, your 28, 29 LPA mark. While if I talk about the new and baby IIMs, so you will have, the baby IIMs anywhere between 12, 13, 14, and then up to, let's say, an IIM Udaipur, Trichy, Raipur, moving up till like 22, 23 lakhs. In terms of the placement, the average CTC, obviously IITs are, far, far ahead, right? So where will somebody have, baby IIM or new IIM advantage? Why will somebody go to baby IIM, new IIMs? I think what, really separates baby and new IIMs is the brand tag. And IIM is definitely from a management standpoint a better tag to have than an IIT. That's number one. And second important element is the kind of peer group, diverse peer group that you have within an IIM that you typically do not find within an IIT. You have tech people with tech dominance. You will have a lot of engineers. While the VBIMs, you will have a lot of people from humanities, people from commerce, people from arts, people from literature, people from MBBS, a lot of diverse, background. Therefore, you have a more rich network inside a BB or a new IIM as compared to an IIT, right? So let me come to the final decision making metrics. But before that, let me talk about a few more important elements. So if I talk about, let's say, alumni and brand positioning, IITs definitely have a larger alumni base. That's one. But again, I do not know how useful, because they are from tech background and you will hardly associate with them and they will hardly associate with you. While the alum base for baby and new IIMs is limited, but you are able to connect more freely with your alums inside a baby IIM, right? All right. Then we have, you will have the brand positioning for IIT is definitely more tech oriented, while the brand positioning for baby IIMs is more management oriented. If you tell somebody that you are from an IIM, definitely invokes a lot of respect, right? So does IIT. If you tell somebody that you've done, it from IIT, they're going to ask you, okay, whether it is mechanical or electrical or computer science, and then you will have to tell them that, okay, I have done management from IIT. And then the reaction is कि अच्छा IIT में management भी होने लगा. ठीक है, so that's the typical reaction that you get when you have management degrees from IIT. I'm absolutely not criticizing any of it. I'm just telling you good things and bad things between the two so that you can make a decision, right? I'll come to the decision making framework also. Let me talk about exposure and learning experience. I believe that if you're somebody who has a good technical plus management kind of an exposure, if you are looking for that kind of an exposure, then obviously IITs will give you that exposure better. In fact, the international immersion program. So the student exchange program is quite limited in case of IITs, while Baby IIMs and new IIMs give you a good student exchange and international immersion. So that is again a very important factor some people definitely look at, right? The diverse peer group inside Baby IIMs is what we've already talked about. Uh, at IITs, you have a good cross-disciplinary learning with BTech students, right? So if you're, let's say, looking for a startup, right, then you will have some people from tech, some people from management. You can combine and then create a startup. Creating a startup will definitely be a better opportunity at an IIT as compared to an IIM because you can have a CFO, a CTO, a CEO, a CXO, everything within the same premises. While BBIMs, you will have some limited responsibilities, while you'll have to have tech from outside, right? So that's something which is also there. Now, let me come to the growth opportunities and the final decision, right? So if I talk about the IIT, you will have a very rich ecosystem and infrastructure, but heavily tilted towards tech while BB and new AMs have also been developing and improving in terms of the placements, but obviously not catching up till the IITs. So how do you effectively make a final decision? Okay. All right. Let me also take up a few questions from the chat once I have done with it. So let me come to the final decision metric. Okay. All right. So you choose IIT. Why? If you are looking for ROI, okay, you do not want to shell out a lot of money. You cannot shell out a lot of money. You do not want to take up an education loan, or maybe you want to take up a smaller education loan. You do not have the financial backing to take up a 25 lakhs loan because remember, it's not a 25 lakhs loan. There is interest accumulating on it. Within let's say 8 to 10 years, it's going to double up from 25 to 50. So over a period of 10 years, you're pretty much paying not just 25, you're paying approximately 50 lakhs. While an IIT is going to be much lesser because you are able to repay because the placements are better and therefore your principal plus interest is not going to be more than a 25 or a 30 at max, right? So definitely creates a difference of 25 lakh rupees in terms of the principal plus interest amount that's there. So definitely a better ROI and obviously a strong tech operations focus. If you're looking for operations role, again, IITs are the best. If you're looking for tech-based roles, product management roles, tech consulting roles, roles within the top tech companies. Let's say you want to work with Freescale Semiconductors, you want to work with Gray Orange Robotics, and so on and so forth. You will have IITs giving you better opportunities in that case. While if you're choosing, let's say, a Baby IIM, you will have a long-term management growth. You will have holistic MBA. You will have definitely a brand strength, right? A brand that people associate with when it comes to management. So if the ROI is not so important to you, if you are not so money centric to begin with, if you are not so financially, if you are well off, I think a BB or a new IM can make sense for you. I'm hoping that this helps you decide well. Let me also take up a few questions. Testing is which colleges should I aim for? Marketing, not sales. Apart from I am Blackie. I think testing, you can look at a lot of other colleges. You will have MDI doing very well in marketing. You will have MICA doing very well in marketing. You have some of the other colleges like IMT Ghaziabad amongst the tier two also doing pretty well inside marketing. Freak cities, if we put SRCC GPO in this picture, where does it stand? In this picture, it will stand nowhere because we are comparing IIT and BBMs. But if you actually consider SRCC, I think SRCC is also a great brand. In fact, we have also been collaborating. MBA Litmus has been an academic partner with SRCC also. Great brand. I think this is something which goes beyond an IIT or an IIM. It's a great, strong brand in itself, a national brand for that matter. And I think SRCC GBU, the only downside I see is the limitation in terms of the higher packages, or basically the packages between 15 to 25 is very little, right? You will have mostly in that 10-12 range in SRCC GBU. But at the same time, amazing ROI, very minimal investment, and you do it from a great brand. So that's how I look at it. Ritvik is saying, how is IIT Kanpur? Brilliant. If you actually look at IIT Kanpur, also provides you with a 20 plus LPA in terms of average CTC, and beyond that, limited batch size. So definite placement for everybody, and obviously great infrastructure for that matter. How should we choose between Bitsom and IIT Kanpur? See, Chitranjan, between Bitsom and IIT Kanpur, I think there is a similar comparison, but I believe IIT Kanpur will take a lead because of placements, because of better ROI, because of better brand. So if I compare, let's say, a Bitsom and IIT Kanpur, and IIT Kanpur definitely wins hands down as of now. But I'm sure Bitsom is a great college. It's growing. It's the trajectory is positive, and I'm sure it's going to catch up. But for now, IIT Kanpur definitely leads if I compare it with Bitsom. I'm hoping that this helps. We've been able to answer some questions in the chat. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop in the comments. We'll take it up. We will try and answer everything that comes our way. I'm hoping that this session has been helpful. Do make sure that you like the stream, subscribe to the channel for all the interesting and important videos that are going to come in for the people getting into B school this year, people getting into B schools next year, people preparing for CAT, NMAT, SNAP, GMAT, and all the other examinations. The channel is going to be super helpful, and I'm going to be here almost every day or alternate days to help you out with important topics and to help you decide better, prepare better, and do better in your future. Swaraj is saying we can be expect Sambalpur final call. I think they are mostly deliberating. I think we should wait for a week, 10 days to expect IIM Sambalpur as well. Utpat is saying, how is IRMA? Anand, IRMA is a good college. IRMA is one of the safest bets within the tier 2 cohort. Every season they're nearly able to place 90-95% people. So that's great in terms of safety. That's number one. Second, obviously, a niche in terms of rural management. Now, a lot of colleges do rural management. XIMBA is another college that does rural management. So a niche from that standpoint, if you're wanting to work with, let's say, brands like Amul, a lot of brands that are working in, suburban and rural areas, you can absolutely go for it. So safe bet, a very good ROI, almost guaranteed placement. The placement ranges between, let's say, a 13 to 15. So, and again, the ROI is great. The fee is on the lower side. So I think a good college, if you compare it with, let's say, the likes of Ford Delhi, the likes of LBSIM, I think you're comparing with that league, right? So there is a league of college, which is, let's say, your Jim Goa, Tapmi, and Great Lakes. So, below that, you'll have all these colleges when you have Ford Delhi, IRMA, you'll have LBSIM, and BIMTech, and so on and so forth. Across that band, you will find that IRMA certainly stands out, and it's a very safe option. If you're somebody looking for ROI, if you're somebody looking for safety, financial safety, I think IRMA is a great bet. I'm hoping that helps. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. It is always lovely to have all of you here and have an interaction and discuss some relevant content with respect to MBA. I'm hoping that this session was insightful, and I'm going to see you all in the next session. Till then, take care, keep doing well, God bless, and see you all. Bye bye.